the 2015 Chevy SS with about 112,000 miles on it. Let's get started with this review because this is a vehicle that I have been looking everywhere for to feature on this channel, and I finally found a nice clean example here at Cary Imports. So if you're interested in purchasing this vehicle, I believe it costs just around $32,000. If you want to take advantage of this car with the warranty, because they do sell warranties on cars like this, well, go ahead, take advantage of it. I will leave the dealership information in the description box below. But let's go ahead, get started here. All right, we'll get to that in a little bit, but that was pretty excellent. Anyway, a couple of things I want to talk about first with this car. This is a very special automobile, and the prices do reflect on it because these have been holding value like crazy. Now, it's basically the Holden that you got in Australia, right? And speaking of that, I also did a review on the Pontiac G8 GXP, so I will leave a link in the description box to that video. And I recently did a review on the Challenger Scat Pack with the 6-speed manual transmission. I will also leave a link down in the description box to that review. But yeah, the exterior is great. We have 19-inch wheels on this car, 245 wide tires in the front and 275s in the rear, so it's a staggered setup. But most importantly, this has a brand new set of Michelin Pilot Sport all-season 4 tires on it, all 4 corners. An excellent tire choice. I've been very excited to try these tires out, and we're going to test out the handling on this car and everything. We'll see how well this car handles and also the way it sticks with these tires. So let's go ahead and let's transition over into some of this driving aspects and some of the specs. We have ourselves here an LS3 6.2 liter V8 engine. I have it in the sport mode right now. .415 horsepower and about 415 pound-feet of torque. Nowadays, the Scat Packs and everything from Dodge make more horsepower than this and more torque. However, there's one thing that people need to understand, and that's the handling on a GM product is always excellent. In fact, the Camaro today is one of my most favorite sports cars in terms of a driving feel. Chevy, Cadillac, they always nail it. I've driven the Cadillac CTS-Vs, the GXPs, like I mentioned, even the 1999 like Trans Ams and everything, and all those performance cars had a great feel out on the road. Another thing to keep in mind, this is a 2015 model year. A lot of changes with the 2015s. Okay, you now have the ability to get a manual transmission. This is obviously not that. A manual transmission is very difficult to find, and you're probably going to be paying a huge premium to get that car. This is the 6-speed automatic. And we also have paddle shifters here, which I will test out later, but we now have Magnarite suspension as standard on all Chevy SS models. And that is great news because this is one of the best suspension setups you can possibly get. Now, the geometry of the suspension is a McPherson strut suspension in the front and a multi-link rear suspension in the rear. Yeah, this 415 horsepower, man, it's a perfect amount of power for the street. And the other thing to keep in mind is the weight figure on this for a full-size sedan is not bad. It's a tad under 4,000 pounds, like 3,970, I believe, is the curb weight. And it gets like what, 14 in the city and 21 on the highway with the 6-speed automatic. But yeah, one of the things I'm noticing is even with the sport mode, because you have some drive modes here in the middle here that you can select, and in the sport mode it does kind of jostle you about. It does become a little bit more of a bouncy ride. I have noticed that. And there, you can actually go one step further and put it into the performance mode, and yeah, it does become very bouncy. I have noticed that. I will put in the tour mode here in a little bit to test that out. And we do have an electronic steering rack, and the steering rack, it does feel a little, I don't know if you would say loose. It just I don't know, it has like a weird sensation to the electronic steering rack. That's the only con I have noticed so far, but outside of that, it's a good handling car. Puts down the power really well, and you do certainly feel a difference when you switch between the modes. There is some tire noise because this is not a Continental tire. Really the quietest tires you can possibly get is from Continental, in the higher realm of performance, if you will. But these Michelins do a great job sticking. We do not have double pane glass. However, the wind noise isn't ridiculous. I mean, you certainly hear some noise, but it's really not too bad for a performance car. Paddles do a really good job in this car. Yeah, the downshifts, the upshifts, it's really not bad for a 2015. And I just went over some railroad bumps there. It's still, like, it's comfortable. It just kind of jostles you around and you kind of hear the larger bumps. But outside of that, it's a pretty comfortable setup. And I'm about to test out some of the handling here in a little bit. Really like the way that this car sticks. Yeah, good handling out of this machine for sure. But most importantly, let's put this into the tour mode and see how that reacts. Let's see if the bounciness kind of goes away. Just went back over those railroad bumps again, and yeah, it becomes significantly more comfortable here. And it doesn't really feel like you're sacrificing much on the handling as well. This is actually something I noticed with the 2019 Ford Mustang GT I reviewed that also had MagneRide suspension. And every time I put it into like the sport or the track modes, it became really jittery and really bouncy. It became really kind of undrivable. This isn't as bad as that, but tour mode is definitely the way to go. Yeah, for sure. And the best part about this Chevy SS is when you drive it really hard, you know when the rear end is slipping. So it's such an easy rear-wheel drive car to manage out here on the streets. Like, you can be an amateur and be able to drive this as one of your first rear-wheel drive cars, I guess, that has some high horsepower. It's a very predictable driving car. But yeah, I would definitely stay away from the sport and the performance modes. Definitely put this car into the tour mode. You're going to be getting great handling, but also a much better ride. One that doesn't bounce you around like crazy. It's really unusable out in the street. Maybe on track, that's what you want, but not out here on the street in the real world. You know, this car, I mean, people are asking, is this car fast? It is quick for sure. It's effortless, but it's not crazy loud or anything. This car is completely stock. No stupid intakes, no exhausts, no tin can exhaust, nothing like that. And just has a nice, smooth V8 tone to it. I think 0 to 60 was like somewhere in between 4.5 seconds to 5 seconds, which is about what the Challengers and Chargers do, the Scat Packs anyway, or the SRT8s of the time. And the quarter mile is like what, 13 seconds flat at about 111 miles an hour trap speed. You're buying this because, well, first of all, you love Chevy and you like the low-key nature of this car. It's not too loud, it's not too flashy. That also goes for the actual sound of the engine as well. It's just a nice, smooth driving experience that handles great. It puts down the power perfectly. Like the Scat Packs, they always kind of slide around. I haven't quite driven a Dodge product with a proper set of tires on it, so that's something to note there. The Challenger Scat Pack that I reviewed, it had these kind of Goodyear RSA tires on it. But the main thing that this really has over the Challengers and Chargers is the uniqueness and also the amazing resale value that comes with that. That's the other thing for buying this car. You know they're never going to make anything like this again. This was like the last kind of four-door muscle car to come out of GM. So take advantage of it while you can. This is one of the cleanest ones I found. I will leave you with one last little tidbit before we jump into the interior segment, and that is the brakes. So you have 4-piston Brembo brakes in the front, and you also get Brembo brakes in the rear as well. That's new for the 2015 model year. And that about does it for this drive. So let's go ahead and let's transition over into this interior segment now. All right, talking about the interior of this 2015 Chevy SS. Keep in mind, this car has 112,000 miles on it. This is one of the cleanest examples of a performance GM product that I have tested on this channel. There's no stupid creaks and rattles going on here. It's a solid, well-built cabin space. I've checked out Cadillac CTS-Vs, and like the little vinyl leathers were like kind of peeling off a little bit, right? This is nothing like that. Whoever the previous owner was, they really did a great job maintaining this interior space. The only real con I can find is there's some like white spots, you know, little speckles here and there on the driver's side seat. But outside of that, dude, there's really no crazy wear and tear going on here. Even the wrinkles on the leather seats aren't half bad, and the Alcantara that they kind of put all around the door panels, the front dash, even that has aged really well here. So well done there. These seats are extremely comfortable. They have the SS embroidered here with some more Alcantara incorporated into the seat. Both of these front seats here are electronically operated, so that's great. It makes it very convenient. And this is, of course, a full-size sedan, so you can easily be like, 10 feet tall. You can be like an avatar and fit in here, no problems. But the lumbar support is great, and the kind of bolsters, they do a great job kind of putting you in here. But you can also be of a slightly larger frame and still fit into these bucket seats. So that's what I really like here. The steering wheel doesn't look all that attractive. It does have a flat bottom here, which is nice, I guess, but the centerpiece where the airbag is located, it's like this big rectangular shape, which is not the most attractive, but whatever. There is actually one bit of wear, like the kind of leather-ish material on the right side here. It's kind of peeling up just a tad bit, but for the most part, it's held up great. You have these plastic paddle shifters, and I don't care that it's plastic because they do a great job reacting. And you can also put the transmission into a sport mode, which I forgot to mention as well. We have some niceties here like memory seats for the driver's side and one-touch automatic windows for the front two windows here. They're up and down windows, one touch. However, the rear windows, they go down one touch, but they don't go back up one touch. Just something to keep in mind there. You have automatic headlights here, and we also have a heads-up display, which you can also turn off with this little knob here right next to the headlight switch. We have the Bose 220 watt, I believe it's a 9-speaker setup, and you know what, the speakers actually don't sound half bad. This is a decent sounding audio system for its time, so I was quite pleased with that. Got your little OnStar/SOS buttons here in the rear view mirror. The seating position is pretty excellent in here. I mean, Chevy always nails it with that, and the visibility is also pretty good in here. We also have heated and cooled seats. I forgot to mention that, both for the front two seats here, which is again a great touch. Climate control that is completely separated from the screen. And you know what? The screen is not too bad. It's still responsive. It's not the most attractive thing to look at. However, it is perfectly functional. I have no issues with it. I enjoy using it. You do have an electronic parking brake here with this automatic model. Your traction control off button, as well as your parking sensors. That's all here on the kind of the passenger side area. I do like how the backup camera actually has lines that move with the steering input, and you have some space up here in the front, as well as in the glove box where you have a USB connectivity right there. And the glove box is of a decent size as well, with a sunroof to boot. And as I mentioned, it's just a nice solid space to spend time. So I'm really pleased with the way that this car is aged. I'm so glad I was able to feature a clean version of this car. I remember the G8 GXP that I reviewed. There was like this little plastic bit that was kind of broken off there. This is actually a nice, neat model. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's talk about the rear seats real quick. So the rear seats are also like a bucket seat almost, so it really kind of keeps you in place when the driver decides to drive at the limit, if you will, right? So the rear seats, they continue to be, soft, supple, supportive. That's great to see. You also have some HVAC vents back there. And I have plenty of headroom, and getting in and out of this car, I'm 5'11". It's very easy. And with my seat setting at 5'11", I have plenty of space to sit behind myself. Now, keep in mind, I do sit rather close to the steering wheel than most people my size. So that's something to keep in mind. However, this is a pretty damn spacious car. I have no real complaints with it. It really does remind me a lot of the Charger. In fact, I think this has a tad bit more space than the than the Dodge Charger of the same era. They're both full-size cars. You should not have any issues with space. The trunk is massive. You also have a full-size spare. I mean, like, you see like the 19-inch wheel that you see on this car on the outside, that same rim, you actually get that as a spare. So you don't look stupid when you blow a tire on this car. It doesn't have like a donut on it or anything like that, like a Steely. It has a proper wheel on it. So I'm very pleased to see that. However, there's one thing to note. I don't know. I mean, help me out in the comment section if you can actually properly fold down the seats in this Chevy SS. One of the things I did notice is you can fold down like the center portion of the seat. However, I couldn't find a switch or a button to fold down the actual seats themselves. I know in the Chargers, in the Dodge Charger, you can actually fold down the entire seat, 60/40. However, I'm glad to see you can at least fold down the center portion. So all in all, this is a pretty practical machine. It's a good driving machine if you put it into the tour mode. And one thing I forgot to mention is when you put the vehicle into the tour mode, the steering becomes a little bit more natural as well. So I don't notice the same kind of weirdness or the slop in the steering wheel when I put it into the tour mode. And the other thing I forgot to mention is you can drive around in the tour mode and you can also put the gear lever into the sport mode. And so the transmission is going to react very quickly out in the street for you. Don't worry that you're not getting a manual transmission. This automatic reacts really well. You can also put it into the regular auto mode and just drive around like that. And the gearbox does a great job downshifting for you. It gives you the gear when you need it. There's not too much lag going on here, and you have plenty of grip. It's very predictable to drive. Great handling. It does feel much smaller to drive than something like a Dodge Charger. The Charger really does feel its size and mass. This one really doesn't. Feels a lot more nimble to place out on the road. So that's one of the things I really appreciated. It's more of the driver's car amongst these larger sedans. So I'm very happy I was able to check this car out. If you're interested in purchasing this car with the warranty, you can hit up Cary Imports. So again, their information will be down in the description box below. Thank you very much for watching this review. Take care and goodbye.